President Biden is expected to touch down in Florida any moment now. He's visiting areas ravaged by Hurricane Helene and Milton. The president is expected to announce more than $600 million in funding for multiple states that were hard hit by the storms. The aid will, in part, go towards boosting electric grids. This as nearly 1 million people in Florida remain without power in the wake of Wednesday's storm. Elected officials, folks, can't prevent natural disasters, but they can reduce or lessen the impact that they have on our communities. A damning new ad from former Trump officials sheds light on which path they think Trump would take if given the keys to the Oval Office once again.
He would suggest not giving disaster relief to states that hadn't voted for him.
I remember one time after a wildfire in California, he wouldn't send relief because it was a Democratic state. So we went as far as looking up how many votes he got in those impacted areas to show him these are people who voted for you.
Joining us now are Olivia Troye, a former Homeland Security and counterterrorism advisor to Vice President Mike Pence, and Kevin Carroll, former senior counselor to Homeland Security Secretary John Kelly. Welcome to you both.
So, Kevin, there are people who will watch and say, oh, he's not actually going to do that. He wouldn't actually do that. How do you make it clear to voters that he has already done things to imperil America's national safety and security?
Well, as you said, he's done it before. There had to be a lot of arm twisting by my former boss, General John Kelly, and good staffers like Olivia Troye to get President Trump to send hurricane aid to Puerto Rico, to get him to send aid after the wildfires to California. I think in a second Trump term, if that comes to pass, you won't have people like General Kelly or Olivia there to try to help him to do the right thing. And I think terrible consequences will follow.
What else don't we know, Olivia? What else because there's a lot that we didn't know until recently about this. You know, y'all had to literally give him data of voters in Orange County, let him know, hey, sir, Republicans live in California, too, and they voted for you, and they too are affected. So, you know, you might want to help them as well. Like I could never fathom a president, Democrat or Republican, that would need that to be done. But what else don't we know? What else haven't we heard that has already happened?
That's such a fair point. There's probably a list of things, a myriad of things. And quite frankly, I think when we were talking about the disaster relief and what happened, and you're hearing what Kevin talk about the situation that we all faced here, I think it was so chaotic and disruptive on a daily basis that it would be hard for me to sit here and think of examples, because I'm just like, well, I don't know, which one should I do? Should I do immigration right now? Should I talk about what happened, the child separation, and how that really played out? Should I talk about, red and blue states during COVID and how really they weren't getting the supplies? Should I talk about Dr. Fauci sitting in the middle of the sit room very angrily saying, I'm talking to doctors in the ERs in New York City. They're telling me they're not getting the supplies. And me leaving the room and Jared Kushner saying, oh, F them, it's Cuomo. I mean, literally, these are real things that happened every single day. And so, I think the thing to do is to take a step back and realize what Kevin just said. Like, there's so many people that live this firsthand, and we know the damage and the danger and the chaos that came with that Trump presidency. And we also know that it's going to be gravely worse should he return to office. And there's a myriad of things. I'm sure that there are so many staffers across the U.S. government right now who are watching this play out, who are watching these ads, who are watching me and Kevin out there talking about this, having their own examples, thinking about the meetings that they had, sitting in front of some of Trump's loyalists. Just think about the entire U.S. government running that way should Trump return, with no one there thinking about the greater good of public service, with no one sitting there thinking disaster relief should never be politicized.
There will be no General John Kelly there.
There's no John Kelly there.
Well, I think to that point, Kevin, and I think it's important for people to appreciate that one of the truths about Donald Trump is projection. He projects behavior that he himself would engage in on others. And so I want to play for you a little sound from Newsmax, where Trump, again, is repeating lies about the delivery of services to North Carolinians and politicizing that.
Got hit with a very bad hurricane, especially North Carolina and parts of Georgia. But North Carolina really got hit. I'll tell you what, those people should never vote for a Democrat because they held back aid. They were so bad. So something is strange going on. But if I were from North Carolina, you should not vote for the Democrat because what they did is disgusting.
So to Olivia's point, let's talk about North Carolina when 2017, I believe, with Hurricane Matthew, Donald Trump gave the governor of North Carolina 1% of the aid that he requested for recovery. Let's talk about the fact that Donald Trump in 2018, with respect to a point that Simone just raised in California, refused to give aid to parts of California devastated by wildfires and storms until he was told, well, you know, they're Republicans in Orange County. So, oh, yeah, they're Republicans there. We can give them money. That part of this storyline is something that I think for me is important for people to really understand because we're living through it right now. And you can see the two responses by the Trump administration then and the Biden administration now, you know, handing off to Kamala Harris. How do they convey the narratives? That what Trump is saying here is a lie, telling people, oh, you shouldn't vote for them because the Democrats won't help you, when he, in fact, is the one who has not helped people in this country when they needed it.
As you said, with Trump, it's always projection. And it's a very illuminating clip that you played, not only the substance of what he said, but the way he's slurring his words like a stroke victim. I mean, he just sounds like an impaired person. It's absolutely true that President Trump, when he was in office and if he returns, will not want to aid people who he perceives not having voted for him. To give an example, he said to General Kelly that he wanted to move the U.S. Navy out of Hawaii because Hawaii was a blue state. And Kelly had to explain to him that our Pacific Fleet is based there, and the USS Arizona is there with a couple of thousand fallen sailors in it. He's just completely transactional in his view of what what should be done. Actually, and as the conversation went on, apparently Trump was unaware of what had happened at Pearl Harbor and which country had fought on which side of World War II. All he knew was that he admired it.
Kevin, who are the people that are supporting and propping up this man? I'm not talking about the voters out there. I'm talking about the people who are saying, who are going in there taking a check from Donald Trump every damn day. What is going on?
Can I just point out to, sorry, did you want to answer that? I'm not sure if that was rhetorical or not. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. I mean, the Jesuits taught me to always assume good faith and good intentions in others, and so I'll continue to do so. I don't understand why they support him. I think if they actually had to deal with the man in person, they would change their opinion. I mean, I remember in one Oval Office meeting with him, he was demanding that we bomb Mexico with B-52s. He's not a well man.
You know, I think part of the answer, though, Simone, to your question, which I know is about staff, but I think is sort of broader, is Olivia, about who is going to benefit from a Trump administration, which is why this from Project 2025, the calls to privatize FEMA's national flood insurance program and shift emergency spending burden to the states, sort of shows a willful misunderstanding of how this all actually works, but also you start to get a sense of who and what is interested in that type of privatization.
Speechless.
Olivia, sorry, Olivia, that was for you.
Yeah, Olivia, I was going to take that point because I think it's a good point that Alicia puts on the table.
I'm really glad that you brought that up because it reminds me of living sort of crisis after crisis inside the White House on Mike Pence's team. And I think the issue with this is there's a fundamental lack by a lot of these people on how emergency response works. And they don't care. And so I think that they are looking at it now from the lens of having lived it firsthand, and they're trying to push their own very personal agenda, right, on very extreme views. And I think what I saw in the aftermath of crisis in the White House was that we were responding, and there's definitely a process that exists to respond to these crises, but every single time it was Donald Trump and a group of people who would break that process and go outside of that process. And I saw it during COVID when they set up a shadow task force, when there was already a COVID task force happening with Mike Pence. I mean, there are numerous times when this took place. And I think when you look at Project 2025, they're talking about gutting NOAA. They're talking about cutting funding for just basic alerts to the general public. So when you think about that, who's going to warn the general public? Oh, by the way, there's going to be
deaf, dumb, and blind.
Heat wave.
Dumb and blind.
Can I just say, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they're FEMA. They're making sure that they are getting people what they need. And people can go to a disasterassistance.gov if they have been affected by the current tragedies. FEMA is helping. I can't.
I'm always just so shook because you can see the seriousness and reverence with which Olivia talks about the work she once did, because she understands, as Kevin does, what the actual stakes are of this work. They understand that spreading lies like this have impact on people's lives. They understand that dismantling these institutions have impact on people's lives. And you want people in government who actually care about the work that they are tasked with doing. And so it is like living in the upside down, Olivia, to hear the way you talk about it and then hear the nonsense that's coming from him.